My fellow abolitionists, thank you for coming. I have gathered you here today for the annual Civil Rights Meeting comprised of the top abolitionists in the nation. We will be discussing the issues that plague our country and how we should go about fixing them. Before we start, everyone should introduce themselves. I'll start. I was born into slavery in Maryland. Unfortunately, my mother and I were separated when I was just an infant. It was very tough growing up on my own. Despite the risk, I managed to teach myself how to read and write at an early age. It then became my mission to teach other slaves how to read and write. As a result, I was regularly whipped. At age 20, I finally escaped from my plantation and made my way to New York, where my abolitionist career kicked off.
Hello, I'm Harriet Tubman. I am an African-American woman who managed to escape from slavery. I have set high but achievable expectations, my main goal being leading slaves to safety. Many others have thought my goals were beyond reach, but I did all I could to achieve them.
I am Sojourner Truth. My journey truly began upon my escaping from slavery to New York City in 1843, where I preached and debated at camp meetings, in churches, and village streets, exhorting my listeners to accept the biblical message of God's goodness and the brotherhood of man. In the same year, I was introduced to abolitionism at a utopian community in Massachusetts, and thereafter spoke on behalf of the movement throughout the state. My group was so significant that it marked the start in fighting against unjust treatment of women and blacks.
I'm W.E.B. Du Bois. I was born in Massachusetts in 1868. I became the first in my family to attend high school. I attended Harvard University, where I received an advanced degree in history. Throughout my career, I became known for my work as a writer, teacher, sociologist, and activist whose work transformed the ways that the lives of black citizens were seen in American society.
I'm Booker T. Washington. I was born into slavery in Virginia in the mid to late 1850s, but I managed to put myself through school and become a teacher after the Civil War. In many speeches, I stated that African Americans should accept disenfranchisement and social segregation as long as whites allow them economic progress, educational opportunity, and justice in the courts. I still stand by this policy today.
Hello, my name is Rosa Parks. I worked with Martin Luther King and fought for the rights of African Americans. I am most known for being arrested in Alabama for refusing to give up my seat on a bus. My goal was to set equal rights for African Americans.
Okay, to begin this discussion, I state once again, as I did in my speech in 1852, what to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all their days to the year, the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. I agree with you, Frederick, that black people are oppressed every single day. It is my belief that we must stand up and end segregation. We have to do everything in our power to fight against it. Education is important, but it's not as important as fighting for what we believe in.
Du Bois, I'm gonna have to agree with you. My beliefs have always informed me that African Americans need to slowly integrate into the workforce through hard work and merit. And what you are saying, it cannot happen in any way. Slavery has to be rid of gradually, and that's the only way that it can be solved.
You're a sellout, Booker. How can you say that? We are men, and it says in the Constitution that all men are created equal. Yet we have been enslaved. In the 14th Amendment, it gives us equality. So to accept anything else other than full equal rights just make you a sellout.
I, Rosa Parks, would have to agree with Du Bois. I stand up for African American citizens and the rights of all people. We all together as a society, no matter the race, to better our future and impact in the world.
I, Sojourner Truth, also agree with that. I have always spoken in the abolitionist movement and the women's rights movement for the equal equality of everyone. An example of this was my attempt to force the desegregation of streetcars in Washington by riding in cars designated for white people.
Okay, this discussion is getting good. Thank you all for your input. What other issues do you think plagues our nation that we need to talk about?
Although we may have some differences in our beliefs, I, Sojourner Truth, believe that we cannot deny the grave injustices that are done to all African Americans. I was born as a slave, and I experienced the cruel and violent mistreatment by my slave masters as a young girl regularly. I was sold 2 more times by age 13, and I ultimately landed in New York, where my journey truly began.
I, Harriet Tubman, was also a slave who has felt what you have gone through. I have always been a prominent figure in the help of bettering African Americans. I have helped over 70 ex-slaves escape through the Underground Railroad, and I risk my life every day.
I, Frederick Douglass, would like to personally thank all abolitionists for coming here today. I think we did a very good job of discussing the issues that plague our nation and the issues that black people face every single day.
Hi, I am Sojourner Truth, and I would like to bring up women's rights. I am going to repeat some of the points that I brought up in my Ain't I a Woman speech long ago. I repeat once again, in what way can I be beaten like a man, treated like a man, and so is considered less of a woman and less of a human being? In what way could one not morally find themselves to feel obligated to align with the beliefs of the abolitionist movement? We are not asking for much, for we only want to be granted the fundamentals of human rights. Each contribution to the abolitionist movement can have a profound effect on ridding America of this grand inequality.
I, Frederick Douglass, also support the women's rights movement. In my abolitionist paper, The North Star, which I established in 1847, I talked about the emancipation of women and other oppressed groups. It was the most influential black anti-slavery paper published during its time. Our motto was, right is of no sex, truth is of no color, God is the father of us, and we are all brethren. It was spread to more than 4,000 readers in the United States, Europe, and West Indies. There are many reasons to join the abolitionist movement. It will in no way harm any U.S. citizen, yet it will only provide America with its initial beliefs of justice, liberty, and a willingness to make a difference for the equality of citizens of any background. So that is very important today at this meeting, that we get other people to join our cause. It's not just black people that are oppressed, it is women and other groups.
Hi, I, Rosa Parks, stand up for women's rights. I am an African American woman myself, and I was called the mother of civil rights. I stand up for all people, but especially women, because of what hardships we have gone through.
It is very important that we leave here today remembering all the injustices that we have faced. For example, Nat Turner's rebellion in 1831, where Nat Turner and 70 slaves revolted, and eventually 53 blacks were arrested and tried, and 20 were hanged. This is just one example. It is very important that we take from this meeting that we need to work together and get more people to join the abolitionist movement so we can get the justice that we deserve.